Jocks the Jaguar Killian was a cautionary tale whispered in the glamorous backstage areas of Ethel, Eternal Conquest, the most popular reality combat show in the hyperdimensional entertainment sphere. Once he was the undisputed king of the arena, a level 97 warrior whose every swing of his enchanted blade, Claw of the Phoenix, garnered millions of stellar credits and the adoration of countless interdimensional viewers. His charisma stat was legendary. His audience appealed through the roof. He was the Alistair everyone wanted a piece of. Then came the Crimson Catastrophe. Supposedly routine boss fight against the Obsidian Gorgon went spectacularly wrong. Jocks, overconfident and playing to the virtual crowd, misjudged a petrifying gaze attack. The feed cut out abruptly, replaced by a static screen and a terse announcement. Technical difficulties. We regret to inform you. The full replay, once the sensors had finished blurring the more calcified bits, showed Jocks' heroic pose slowly turning to stone, his legendary charisma failing to charm even a single snake hair. The interdimensional viewership plummeted. Sponsors yanked their endorsements. Jocks' follower count on all the major reality stream platforms tanked. He went from headlining the primetime Slaughterfest to being a meme, a symbol of hubris and spectacular failure. His character file was locked, his gear impounded, and Jocks Killian, the Jaguar, was unceremoniously dumped back into the re-entry pool, the digital holding pen for disgraced or retired contestants. Now, months later, Jocks was scraping by as a glorified tutorial NPC in the newbie zones, forced to spout canned lines of encouragement to wide-eyed level 1 barbarians struggling to kill pixelated boars. His once gleaming avatar was now a muted gray, stripped of all his hard-earned gear and skills. His charisma stat, the only thing the system hadn't completely nerfed, felt like a cruel joke. Who needed a charming tutorial NPC? He was currently assisting a particularly dense orcish mage who kept trying to cast fireballs underwater. Remember young Grungle? Jocks recited for the 100th time, his voice flat. Elemental affinities are crucial. Fire and water, it's not friends. Grungle just grunted and tried again. The resulting fizzle, eliciting a fresh wave of viewer emotes, mostly laughing goblins and facepalm emojis. Jocks could see the chat overlay, a constant stream of commentary from the omnipotent, interdimensional audience. Spectator_47. Lol. Look at the has-been giving advice. ChaosFan_666. Jaguars still got the sad aura debuff active. GigglePrincess_01. Remember when he fought the Hydra? Good times.
Oh.
Jocks sighed inwardly. The humiliation was constant. The only saving grace was the trickle of re-entry stipend, barely enough to keep his avatar from being permanently deleted due to inactivity. Then, a notification flashed across his muted vision. A message from the producer AI, contestant. Jocks Killian. Your participation in a new experimental season of Ethel, Eternal Conquest, is requested. Subject, the Redemption Arc Initiative. Reward structure. Significantly enhanced viewership bonuses and potential for permanent account reinstatement. Terms and conditions apply. See attached document minus 78 pages of legalese in Galactic Standard. Jocks blinked. Redemption Arc. This had to be a joke. But the producer AI wasn't known for its humor. He reluctantly opened the attached document, his eyes glazing over as he tried to decipher the convoluted legal jargon. The gist of it seemed to be a new season focusing on disgraced contestants trying to claw their way back to the top. With audience engagement being the primary metric for success, it was a long shot, a desperate gamble. But the alternative was an eternity of explaining basic game mechanics to oblivious newbies. With a sigh that held a flicker of his old bravado, Jocks tapped accept. His muted avatar shimmered, the gray fading back to a more respectable, if still basic set of leather armor. Single, unadorned iron sword materialized in his hand. His level 1. Stats, pathetic across the board, except for that stubbornly high charisma. Well, Grungle, Jocks said, a genuine, if slightly rusty smile returning to his face. Looks like your old pal Jocks has a new quest. Grungle just stared blankly, then tried to cast another underwater fireball. Some things, Jocks thought, never changed. The redemption arc season was brutal. The re-entry zone was a chaotic free-for-all, filled with other disgraced Alistairs, each desperate for screen time and viewer approval. Jocks quickly realized that raw power wasn't the only path back to the top. This season was all about the metagame, crafting a compelling narrative, forging alliances and betraying them at the opportune moment, and, most importantly, generating drama, his high charisma. Once his greatest asset and straightforward heroism became his most potent weapon in this new arena, he couldn't outfight the heavily geared former champions, but he could outmaneuver them socially. He started small, offering sarcastic commentary on other contestants' blunders, his dry wit resonating with a cynical segment of the audience. Jocks the comeback. Well, folks, looks like ironclad Ingrid mistook that sleeping dragon for a particularly lumpy pillow. Sleep tight, viewers. Plus, 500 Jocks the Comeback fan tokens. He learned to play the villain, subtly sabotaging stronger contestants with well-placed rumors and manufactured misunderstandings. Always with a charmingly disingenuous smile, his accidental tripping of the heavily armored barbarian Brundle during a crucial treasure hunt became a viral sensation. Jocks the Comeback. Oops, my bad Brundle. Didn't see your exceptionally large feet there. Viewers, plus 1,000 Jocks the Comeback drama points. His viewer numbers started to climb. Sponsors, sensing a potential comeback narrative, cautiously offered small endorsements, generic healing potions, slightly less rusty iron weapons. His gray avatar gained a few cosmetic upgrades, a stylishly tattered cloak, a rakishly angled hat. He even formed a temporary alliance with Mysteria the Magnificent, a former top-tier illusionist whose downfall came from a spectacularly failed teleportation spell that landed her in a pit of sentient, highly ticklish slimes. Mysteria's mastery of illusion and Jocks' knack for manipulation proved a potent combination, creating elaborate pranks and staged betrayals that kept the audience glued to their screens. Their on-screen rivalry, carefully crafted and expertly performed, became the season's main storyline. The will they won't they betray each other for ultimate viewer supremacy? Narrative drove engagement through the roof. Their joint capture of a low-level dungeon boss, followed by a dramatic staged argument over the loot distribution, which was entirely predetermined, earned them both massive viewership boosts and lucrative temporary sponsorship deals with rival energy drink brands. Jax was learning the new rules of the game. It wasn't about being the strongest or the most skilled. It was about being the most entertaining, the most talked about, the most watched. His stats were still abysmal, his combat skills rudimentary, but his audience appeal and drama scores were soaring. The system even started rewarding him with unique showmanship skills. Dramatic entrance novice, cutting one-liner novice, feign injury intermediate. He was no longer Jocks the Jaguar, the fallen hero. He was Jocks the Comeback Kid, the master manipulator, the reality TV villain everyone secretly loved to hate. And he was climbing his way back to the A-list, one carefully crafted dramatic moment at a time. The redemption arc season was nearing its climax. Jocks and Mysteria were the frontrunners. Their carefully orchestrated rivalry, the engine driving the show's record-breaking viewership, the producer AI, pleased with the engagement metrics, started, introducing more complex plot twist events to keep things spicy. One such event was the Legacy Dungeon Dive. Each remaining contestant was given access to a personal legacy dungeon, a recreation of a significant moment from their past that led to their downfall. Clearing the dungeon, not through combat prowess, but through understanding and overcoming their past mistakes, would grant a massive boost to their redemption arc narrative. Jocks' legacy dungeon was a painstakingly accurate recreation of the Obsidian Gorgon fight. He found himself back in the arena, the crowd roaring, the Gorgon's serpentine heads hissing menacingly. But this time, he wasn't level 97. He was the pathetic level 1 Jocks. Armed with his rusty iron sword, the system's challenge wasn't to defeat the Gorgon with brute force, an impossibility at his current level, was to confront his past. Arrogance, to learn from his fatal misjudgment. He couldn't rely on powerful skills or enchanted gear. He had to use his wits, his charisma, and his newfound understanding of audience expectations. Instead of charging in blindly, he started talking to the Gorgon. He used his cutting one-liner skill, delivering a surprisingly effective string of insults that, while not physically damaging, certainly seemed to irritate the stony beast. The audience loved it. His viewer count spiked. He then played on the Gorgon's vanity, a detail he vaguely remembered from some obscure lore he had once skimmed, flattering its scales and complimenting its surprisingly stylish snake hairdo. The Gorgon, confused and perhaps a little flattered, paused its attacks. Jox, seizing the opportunity, didn't try to fight. Instead, he staged a dramatic sacrifice, pretending to offer himself as a willing statue for the Gorgon's collection, all while subtly positioning himself near a precarious pile of arena debris. The Gorgon, eager to add the infamous Jox the Jaguar to its display, obliged. With a well-timed and entirely theatrical groan, Jox accidentally knocked over the debris, causing a minor cave-in that temporarily stunned the Gorgon. He then used his feign injury intermediate skill to limp away dramatically. Narrowly escaping the encounter, he didn't clear the dungeon in the traditional sense. He survived it by playing a role, by creating a compelling story of humility and cunning. The producer AI, clearly impressed by his unorthodox approach, granted him a massive narrative boost and a new showmanship skill. Masterful misdirection. Novice. Mysteria's legacy dungeon involved. Navigating the treacherous teleportation sequence that led to her slime bath. She used her illusion skills not to fight her way through, but to create believable phantom versions of herself, each taking a different and equally disastrous route, culminating in a hilariously choreographed montage of slimy demises. The audience roared with laughter, and Mysteria received a similar narrative boost. The stage was set for the season finale, final showdown between Jox the Comeback Kid and Mysteria the Magnificent, a battle for ultimate viewer supremacy, and a guaranteed ticket back to the A-list. The season finale was a meticulously orchestrated event. The arena was packed virtually, of course, with billions of interdimensional viewers. The producer AI had outdone itself, creating a spectacular multi-stage challenge filled with dramatic obstacles and opportunities for heroic or villainous. Plays.jx and Mysteria played their roles to perfection. They traded witty banter, engaged in spectacular, if not always entirely effective combat, and narrowly avoided numerous perilous traps. The tension was palpable, the viewer engagement off the charts. The final stage involved a seemingly impossible choice, 2 levers, each labeled with a cryptic symbol. Pulling one would grant the contestant ultimate victory and a guaranteed A-list reinstatement. Pulling the other, the consequences were unknown, adding a delicious layer of suspense. The script, carefully crafted by the producer AI, called for Jox and Mysteria to engage in a final dramatic struggle over the levers, culminating in a last-second decision that would leave the audience on the edge of their seats till the season-ending cliffhanger. But as Jox stood before the levers, a strange feeling washed over him. He looked at Mysteria, her face a mixture of determination and theatrical intensity. He thought back to his fall from grace, the humiliation, the long climb back. He thought about the audience, the billions of unseen eyes that judged their every move. And in that moment, Jox decided to go off script. He stepped away from the levers, a genuine, unforced smile on his face. "Mysteria," he said, his voice surprisingly sincere. "You've played an incredible game. You've entertained millions. You deserve this." He gestured towards the levers. "The stage is yours." Mysteria stared at him, her carefully crafted villainous persona momentarily cracking. The audience chat exploded with confusion and speculation. This wasn't in the script. After a moment of stunned silence, a genuine smile spread across Mysteria's face as well. "Jox," she said, "that's surprisingly decent of you." Hesitated for a moment, then walked to the lever on the left, the one associated with ultimate victory. But instead of pulling it, she stopped. You know what, Jocks? She said, a mischievous glint in her eye. Redemption is better when it's shared. She turned and pulled the other lever. The arena went dark. The audience chat went wild with speculation and outrage. The producer AI's carefully crafted narrative had been completely derailed. Then the lights flickered back on, revealing not a reward screen or a game over message, but a new interface element, a joint profile for Jocks the Comeback Kid and Mysteria the Magnificent. Their audience appeal scores were off the charts, their drama scores even higher. A message from the producer AI appeared, unforeseen narrative outcome achieved. Viewer engagement exceeds all projections. New season concept initiated. Ethel, dynamic duos. Contestants, Jocks Killian and Mysteria. The Magnificent have been granted permanent A-list reinstatement and will headline the new season with enhanced collaborative bonuses. JAX and Mysteria exchanged surprised glances, then burst out laughing. Their unscripted moment of genuine and perhaps slightly cynical camaraderie had inadvertently created an even more compelling narrative than the AI could have planned. Jocks the Jaguar was gone, replaced by Jocks the Comeback Kid, master of the metagame, a manipulator who had learned the value of genuine connection, even if it was mostly for show. His stats were still mediocre, but his understanding of the audience, his ability to craft compelling stories, had become his true power. He had learned that, in the hyper-real world of Ethel, eternal conquest, the most powerful weapon wasn't a legendary sword or a potent spell. It was the ability to understand the narrative, to play the audience, and sometimes to surprise everyone by going completely off script. The A-list wasn't just about being the best. It was about being the most interesting. And Jocks the Comeback Kid, alongside Mysteria the Magnificent, were about to redefine what it meant to be an Alistair in the ever-evolving game. The new meta had arrived, and it was all about the dynamic duo who dared to be real. Well, as real as you could be in a hyper-dimensional reality show.